Hello, my name is Alex Lapierre, and I'm a Master of Science student in Wildlife Ecology and Management at the University of Alberta. And I'm going to present to you my thesis project, which I have titled Many Smaller or Fewer Larger, Consolidating Prairie Pottle Ponds Changes Water Bowman Insect Communities and Their Potential to Migrate. The Prairie Pottle region is this mid-continent area of North America, and it contains millions of what we call prairie pottle ponds. And these ponds are diverse in size and shape, and also how frequently they dry out. Some ponds are permanent, and some ponds are semi-permanent or temporary or even seasonal. These ponds tend to produce a lot of aquatic invertebrates, especially water boatman insects, which are an important part of these aquatic invertebrate communities. Water boatmen feed lots of other wildlife because they're so abundant and easy to eat. So things like bats, ducks, and fishes will feed on water boatmen. And an important feature of these prairie pottle water boatman communities is that many species migrate between wetlands and rivers every year. So for example, the North Saskatchewan River in Edmonton, Alberta, all this dark area are actually millions of water boatmen. This is them coming to the river in September to overwinter, and then they'll leave again in the spring to go back to their breeding habitats in prairie pottle ponds. Migratory water boatmen transfer between these habitats in such large amounts that we call them seasonal mass migrations. And these migrations represent a very important energy and nutrient transfer between these habitats and form a linkage between these riverine and wetland pond ecosystems. However, it is unknown which pond conditions where these migratory water boatmen breed best support these seasonal mass migrations. That's been happening and is still happening in the prairie pottle region is that many of these smaller, shallower ponds are being consolidated into fewer and larger ponds, water bodies. And because we do know that migratory water boatmen tend to be associated with non-permanent pond habitats that dry out more frequently, we think this pond consolidation, which increases pond size and therefore pond permanence, and decreases pond count or pond density in a given area, we think that it will decrease the abundance of migratory species such that we get a change in species composition and a lowered or decreased potential contribution to seasonal mass migrations. So we tested this with a field study that we conducted in 2024. We selected 14 Ducks Unlimited Canada conservation properties, which were quarter sections, so 800 meter by 800 meter squares of land. And we measured pond consolidation within these quarter sections along a gradient. So we were able to measure pond consolidation on a gradient using this consolidation index. We created this new index. So as pond count decreases and as pond area becomes unevenly distributed across ponds, we get an increased CI score, so an increased consolidation index score. So we sampled our sites in the summer of 2024 for water boatmen. So we did 6 samples per quarter section. And for each sample location, we did a 2-minute timed aquatic net sweep to collect our water boatmen, and then we took our samples back to the lab for cleaning, subsampling in some cases, and then species identification. And this informed migratory status because we know in the prairie pottle region we have a good idea of which species migrate and which don't. So after we had finished identifying and counting all of our water boatmen, we used a direct gradient analysis to test how species composition changes along our consolidation index gradient, which is our measure of pond consolidation. We also included salinity because we thought this was an important covariate because it is known to drive species composition changes. So we wanted to able to separate out that effect from the effect of a consolidation index. So with this direct gradient analysis ordination, we can see that several species are significantly associated with the 2 environmental variables. To focus on these 4 key migratory species. We consider these key migratory species because these 4 tend to dominate these wetland river migratory swarms. First, look at these 2 species, Sagarabecula penis and Suncrixa bifida. We see the ordination indicates that they're strongly positively associated with salinity and weakly associated with consolidation index. And that matches what is shown on these scatter plots here. So we see a weak negative relationship with consolidation index for both species. And this is an ANOVA result, so a very high probability that this negative slope is due to something other than the consolidation index. Then if we look at these 2 species, Calocrixa odini and Sagarabecula, these are actually probably the most dominant in these migratory swarms, so probably the most important migratory species for these wetland river linkages. On the ordination indicates that they are strongly negatively associated with the consolidation index and weakly associated with salinity. And this again matches these scatter plots. So we see stronger, more negative slopes for both species, and we see that the probability is very low that these slopes are due to something other than a consolidation index. So our results suggest that key migratory water bottom species are negatively associated and negatively affected by pond consolidation, which possibly reduces the migration-related ecosystem services that these water bottom species can provide. So this has implications for wetland conservation and wetland loss mitigation in the Prairie Pottle region. And our main recommendation is that we conserve these dense groups of smaller, shallower ponds to mitigate pond consolidation and the effects it has on the ecosystem and water bottom communities. Thank you for listening.